Hey there, people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy, and I'm going to be talking briefly, as possible, about the fact that the Nintendo lawsuit against the team behind the Yuzu emulator has settled out of court. Now, I, for one, was hoping that this would actually go to trial, because it's still a necessary thing that we need to have happen. We need to have a definitive line that we can cross or cannot cross. We need to know where the barrier is to stop, or if there should be no barrier. We need to know. But we're not going to get that because this is settled out of court, which means there's not going to be a lawful precedent set, even though it does change some things around. But there won't be a lawful precedent set. So, based upon my own hunch, I didn't think that Yuzu would win this case. And that's probably likely what the lawyer told them when they had a chance to really thoroughly go over everything that Nintendo was claiming. And they still had to do discovery, which is legally going through the process of basically auditing everything. So, yeah. Oh, and another thing, Nintendo ninjas are real. Nintendo has people that sneakily peruse the internet checking for things. And that both scares me a little bit and also kind of explains several things. So they definitely have a team that is dedicated to information farming. They have a team that is dedicated to information farming because there's no other way they got some of this information that they had without having people able to do it. So if it's a publicly available place that you can talk about them and their stuff, they probably have that information. Or they're probably going to be making their way around to it. Bro, that's the thing that blew my mind about this. I was like, we always joked about the Nintendo ninjas as a concept, but this confirms the concept. This highly confirms the concept. Whether you want to believe it or not, this completely confirms that there is a dedicated Nintendo team out there farming and holding on to information, which is not a good thing for people who are pirating. Which was another thing I talked about, because Nintendo is scouring the hell out of social media. Whether it be X, more than likely they got somebody that's checking out Blue Sky, they got people in Discord. They probably got people in every little piece of the web just there to collect information. So you gotta think, any website that they have an official Nintendo account, they probably got a couple unofficial accounts just going through checking stuff out. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're talking about pirating their stuff. They might just knock on your door one day. That said, so Nintendo had some information when you get a chance to peruse the documents. I didn't go through everything. Trust and believe, I did not go through and look at everything. That thing is long. But you can find little pieces where they have gathered some information. And it's not like This isn't hidden stuff that's hidden. Hidden is just stuff that's out of the way, but still publicly accessible. So if they're willing to go to those lengths to find stuff, don't think that you are going to be the exception. Because I think they're trying to weed those out too. But my hunch was that the Yuzu emulator had to use Nintendo's encryption libraries for decrypting games. That's why you could play games on it before launch. Now, obviously, some newer games are going to have some additional files that have to be worked with. But if you already have the majority of the files anyway in the emulator, the decryption tools are already in the emulator, which they shouldn't have been in the first place. But since they are, you wouldn't need much to make a game playable on it. Which is one of the reasons that Tears of the Kingdom was so easy to pirate. But yeah, people can go ahead and steal the file for the game, but if they don't have a way to actually access what's on the file, it wouldn't make much of a difference. But I doubt that the Yuzu team was the only target on Nintendo's radar. They were probably just one of the first and more easy to hit targets. But they settled out of court for $2.4 million, and for the emulator to stop being worked on, the files to be given over to Nintendo, the website likely to be given over to Nintendo, and the Discord also likely to be given over to Nintendo, which would mean the private channels on that Discord would then become theirs to peruse through. So, that's gonna be a big problem for people. I know it's not gonna be a problem for me because I never touched that emulator, not once, ever, at all. But for other people, there's gonna be some hammer drops. So when they settled that out of court, like, this whole settlement favors Yuzu. It lets them basically pay a fine, wash their hands of things, and basically ride off into the sunset, to be honest. This was the best possible outcome for them. For Nintendo, the positive thing is that the emulator gets taken down and that they get the resources from it. You know, they get all the source files and all that. That becomes their property. So, Nintendo could have pushed it. They could have ignored a settlement. But I think that their lawyers and the lawyers for Yuzu just said, look, we're trying to make this deal end as fast as possible. We're going to make a business deal out of this. Hey, we caused damage to you. We'll pay you this amount that we can. If you agree, cool. You can take it, and we'll give you these things, and we'll stop doing this. Literally, a settlement is just a contract. It's a quickly, or not necessarily quickly, it's a contract to be executed. That's it. That's what a settlement is. It's a contract to be executed to fix a problem. Problem fixed. And without Yuzu being dragged through the dirt publicly. I mean, people already do that online enough, but so without it being done in a legal sense, because this legal discovery is basically a huge audit of information. And they would have had to turn over everything to Nintendo anyway for their legal team to go through. And more than likely, their engineers would have gone through it with their legal team. Because you wouldn't expect the legal team to understand a whole lot of the stuff going on with technology, but you would expect engineers to. So now they get the chance to go through it with their engineers anyway, without necessarily having to spend money on their lawyers for anything that isn't a major thing to take care of. So it saves them money in the long run. Next thing to consider, and that is that the Yuzu emulator, at least in the more recent form version of it, has what basically amounts to a tracker that gives them updated information on the users. I would say it's not unlike what Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony do already with their consoles. See how the users are using the console, see what they have on it, allow them to see if something is a pirated game or not. And that's what they did. Now, a lot of people hand wave it. Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that does that. What's the big deal? The big deal is that last thing I said. That it proves that people were using pirated copies of games in the emulator. That it wasn't a bunch of people purchasing the games and then legally dumping them. It was people downloading the games and playing them on the emulator. Now, that is not to say that there couldn't have been some people who don't have the hardware but did purchase the games. However, they still downloaded a copy that would be seen and signaled as the same as another copy because it has a unique identifier. Every game that you put in your Switch, once it registers to that Switch, it creates a unique identifier. This is something that's been the same with the Wii U and the 3DS. It creates a unique identifier. Hell, with the 3DS, anytime you reset your 3DS, like fully factory reset it, and you boot it back up, it creates a unique identifier for the system. It's never the same. That's why you can wipe your 3DS. If you copied your main folder out of it, you wipe your 3DS and you start it up again, and you take whatever your SD card out and put it in your computer, and you open that file again, you will have two separate folders with unique codes, even though they serve the exact same purpose. So, if you see a game being played multiple times because it does not have a unique identifier in comparison to other versions, that's how you know that one was pirated. I say all that to say that the team knew that they were benefiting from pirating, because they started to receive more money when people were pirating games through their emulator. So they knew that they were getting money through false pretenses. They knew it. Even though a few months back they went ahead and said, hey, we do not condone pirating. Or at some point in the middle of summer last year, we do not condone pirating. Anyone talking about pirating on our servers will be banned and removed. I remember that because I remember responding directly to that message on X. And I said something along the lines that you're saying this legally to cover your butts, but you know for a fact that this is what the majority of people are doing with your emulator. Turns out I was right. And the weird thing is, the more I studied how code works, it made it super apparent, which is why I had the hunch I had that there was something going on with the code that's in that emulator. That they had the decryption methods and everything in the emulator, and that was the major problem. And I am still not the most technically well versed, but if I can figure that out, then a lot of other people who claim to be technical experts should have been able to figure that out too. That's why I say, like, I can tell that there's a lot of people who are frauds out there talking about everything that they know. Like, nah, y'all some frauds. I will admit, I don't know everything, and I'm still learning. I'm still trying to understand it. But if I can clearly see something that is easy to point out, and you don't, and you're the tech expert, there's a big problem. There's a big problem. Especially when it turns out I'm right. So there's that. So like I said, all that information is getting turned over to Nintendo. There's no two ways about that. I'm pretty sure that's part of it. And again, I do think they're getting the Discord, and they get those private channels. That's gonna be it for a lot of people. So if you were on that Discord and any of those private channels, I feel for you. I truly feel for you, because you might just get reamed. Another thing, and I said this, I said Nintendo's probably going to be going after content creators next. They got their people going through social media, which means they're probably going to be going after content creators next. If they don't go after the sites providing the files that people are pirating. More than likely, they'll go after those first before they go after content creators. I should have thought about that process before. I did say that they're going to go after this team, and then they're going after content creators. That's probably wrong. There may be a step in between those two things, but those steps are not going to be too far apart now. Hell, I was definitely wrong when predicting that this thing could take a couple years. I mean, I was right in saying that it could. I was just wrong in predicting that it would. So, yeah, they did sneak that one by me real quick. But there is one person in particular that it majorly ticks me off. It ticks me off because this person was gung-ho about the whole Gerard situation, where Open Hand was openly taking donations and talking about how they were donating money to a cause where it was supposed to go, and then not doing it, just holding on to a bunch of money. And then when they finally did make a donation, it wasn't equivalent to the total of what they actually collected. And that person is Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers. Now, I've followed that channel for years at this point. And it's like, how can you see the wrong in this one particular situation, but then you don't see the wrong in this other situation? Is it because this other situation favors what you like to do? Is it truly because this other situation favors what you like to do, so you have blinders on? And not like you're blind, like you can't see it. You're choosing not to see it. You're choosing your wording to say, oh no, this company is completely in the wrong for protecting their IP and their software and coding and the money that they make from the product that they sell. Really? This isn't the same as emulating an old copy of GTA 5 from PS3 or 360. And in the 360 situation, you still have to spoof your copy from the physical platform to your PC. So this isn't that. This is pirating a current market available product. This is taking away from something that is already available for people to have. It's not preservation if you're taking it while it's still available and not actually purchasing and taking care of things. To preserve gaming, you have to preserve both the hardware and the software, and that can take multiple formats. But you still have to preserve the hardware and the software. You have to preserve it physically and digitally. Now, I particularly don't care if somebody purchase a game, they have the console, they spoof it from their console to their PC and play it on their PC. I don't personally care. But let's not pretend that everyone is doing that. Let's not pretend that we're Robin Hood taking away from the greedy rich bastards that are holding on to everything while the poor suffer and have nothing to eat. Let's not do that. For as expensive of a hobby as gaming actually is, there are still games that you can play completely for free without making a purchase. Without paying in the Game Pass. Without paying for anything in the game, without buying skins. There are games that are still available to this day that you can play for free legally. Games that you don't have to spend a dime to actually play. Besides having hardware that's capable of playing them. So if people really, really, truly want free games, go get the free games. Oh, you know what? You want free games? Epic Game Store gives people a free game every Thursday. Every Thursday. Now, some games are going to be in rotation, but every Thursday you get a free game from Epic without spending an extra dime. And you can play those games for free. So again, let's not pretend that this is some epic moral issue. Let's not pretend this is the elites keeping everything from the peasants. That's not the case here. And true preservation requires you actually having and owning the shit and actually taking care of it. That's true preservation. So that argument goes out the window. Especially when we can look at it and see, oh yeah, they knew a lot of people were pirating. They've got a tracker built into the emulator to let them know that. So we're not going to go ahead and say, well, fuck Nintendo for protecting their shit. Because if it was you in that position, if it was your shit, if you created anything and put it up for sale and someone was stealing and distributing it, you would go after them. I know for a fact I would. I have shit up for sale online. And if I found out that somebody was taking my stuff and distributing it for free, I'm gonna go after them. Hell, I went after people when I was writing editorials back in the days of Yahoo Voices / associated content, and I found out people were taking my written editorials word for word, pasting them other places and taking my name off of them. So, and that was messing with money I was making off of those because I was getting paid for them. So I know for a fact that if somebody took either of my word search books, made a digital version of it and distributed it for free, or they took any of my poetry books and distributed them for free, I would go after those people. I would go after those people. Because I have those things as copywritten to me. I have ownership over them. So I have control over where they go. And that's essentially what this is. That's why I said before, if you're going to do this to a big company, there is no way in the world you're not going to do it to the little guy. Because you're going to be like, well, I already took from all these motherfuckers, but I'm just for some reason going to say, oh, their game's only $10. I'll go ahead and purchase. That's not how people operate. If you're not willing to buy it in the first place, if you're not willing to buy stuff in the first place, you're not going to buy it. You're not just suddenly going to be, oh, well, this game's only $10. Let me go ahead and pick it up. That's not happening. And that's not to say that there aren't people who will purchase Nintendo's games on PC if the option was available. There would be people who would be willing to do it. I'm saying the people who are going to pirate anyway. They're just looking for any excuse that they can use to say, oh, well, my pirating's okay. It's not. Either way you swing it, it's not. Now, again, there are some exceptions that can be made, but we're not talking about the exceptions. We're talking about the general that is happening. We're talking about the general thing that is happening. And for Mutahar to turn a blind eye to that on purpose is highly fucking disingenuous. I don't like, you want to be able to have access to someone else's shit, but then you want to shit on the people that you want to have access to their shit in the first place. That's not cool. It's not. I'll use myself as an example. I will shit on not Nintendo. I will shit on EA. But if they make a product that I actually want, I will buy it. I will pay for it. There are multiple methods to do so. But I'll make sure I have it. I would shit on EA all day, every day. But if a new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic drops and that game looks fun and interesting, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to buy it to have it. I'll talk major shit about Ubisoft, but I'll still buy their games if it looks like it's a game that's interesting, fun, and I want it. I shit on Capcom on a regular basis. I know that they have people who follow me on social media, and I still shit on them. I'll still buy their games if I think they're worth it. And I won't break Street Date if I get the game early. I'm not going to break Street Date and post stuff on social media if I end up with the game early. That's me using myself as an example. I've never seen someone so adamant to shit on somebody and still use their stuff. well, they're legally in the right, but they're morally and ethically wrong. How are they morally and ethically wrong when you have an available avenue to purchase the stuff that you want? We're not talking about games that are long since gone and haven't had a chance to come back. But even in that case, Nintendo still goes through the trouble of making a new version of some games. Famicom Detective, I think it's Famicom Detective Club. No one was expecting that to be revived. It got revived. There's an available avenue to have it where you can make the purchase. Go make the purchase. Advance Wars 1 and 2, the reboot camp. Available avenue to purchase. Link's Awakening remake. Available avenue to purchase. You have a legal way to acquire the game. Maybe you want the specific version from the past. I don't know. But if you want that, then you should still support the new one. You want to see more of it available, you should still support the new one. Let's not crap on everything and then still take everything. Now, Mudahar says he makes his purchases, so more than likely he has receipts for his stuff. But guess who doesn't? The crowd that follows him. I can tell you right now, the crowd that follows him for the emulation stuff, they don't own any of that shit. And the few who do, again, they are the exceptions, but the majority, they don't. And for him to act like he is fucking ridiculous. So, I've said my piece on that part. Now, as people are perusing through those files and more information gets spread out, because I've sat through some of Nintendo's legal written documents, and those motherfuckers are long. So I'm like, somebody else finish this. Someone else finish the homework, please. So I can go ahead and talk about it. I'm like the one kid in class who's only there to be the presenter. Like, that's my job. Oh man. But this situation is highly screwed. And I do think that, again, people who have been online pirating and talking about pirating and promoting pirating, y'all day is coming. Y'all day is truly coming. And the funny thing is, there was an idiot that made a post directly on a Nintendo post on X, putting up the middle finger. Like, fuck you, Nintendo, I want to pirate all your shit now. I'm like, why would you say that out publicly, you fucking idiot? Gosh. Why would you say that out publicly? Like, why would you say that? Like, man, those motherfuckers ain't getting it. They really are not getting it. It is just getting worse and worse. And the people who argue with me online, now that they get this information, motherfuckers ain't coming back to me to talk shit now. They have definitely steered clear of my ass. Because I was right. And they don't want to admit it. But they'll go on to make other posts and talk about the shit. But they won't come back to where they talk to me about it. Just saying. But that's it. I'm done. I'm going to get up off my soapbox here, as Shadow Fox likes to call it. I'm getting up off my soapbox. I'm done running my mouth. Thank you guys very much for listening, and keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, everybody, please enjoy your games and peace out.